Welcome back to the Beyond Practice podcast. I'm Taylor Grant.
And I'm Casey Bishop. Each deep dive, we kind of go through all those sources you send us, pull out the need-to-know stuff, and maybe some unexpected insights, hopefully to help you navigate whatever challenges or changes you're facing.
Exactly. And special shout out to Alex Landry and Brad Trundle, Canadian Forces leaders who inspire us to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Absolutely. So for this deep dive, ready for change, we're exploring all those forces that shape how we adapt and evolve.
Think of it kind of like disaster management.
Yeah, exactly. Like knowing the landscape, predicting those potential threats, and actually having a plan to respond. Today, we're diving into two powerful frameworks that can really help you do just that.
First, we're looking at the McKinsey 7S model. Think of it as an organizational X-ray, helping you understand how things work internally, whether that's a company or even just a team. And then we'll move on to the PESTLE analysis, which is all about uncovering those external forces at play.
The McKinsey 7S model was developed a while back in the 80s by consultants Robert H. Waterman Jr. and Tom Peters. It reveals 7 interconnected elements that affect an organization's success: strategy, structure, systems, shared values, skills, staff, and style.
Now, these 7 elements aren't just a random list. They're actually split into these hard elements and soft elements. The hard elements, those being strategy, structure, and systems, are the concrete, tangible parts of the organization.
Right. Think of those as your building blocks. But then you have the soft elements: shared values, skills, style, staff. These are the less tangible cultural and social aspects.
And what's fascinating is that this model really shows you how interconnected all of these elements actually are. Imagine making a change in just one area, like updating technology systems. Well, that change is probably going to ripple through the other elements, impacting the skills the staff need, or even the whole organizational structure.
So it's kind of like a domino effect.
Exactly. One change can trigger a cascade of others.
To make this a bit more concrete, let's imagine a fire station. So the strategy is to respond to fires quickly and efficiently, right? Structure is how that station is organized, like the fire chief, different teams for different tasks. And then the systems would be the procedures, like responding to a call or how they use the equipment. What about those soft elements, though? How would they fit into this example?
Well, shared values would be those core beliefs that drive the firefighters, right? Like their commitment to saving lives and protecting the community. Then you've got skills, which is all about their training and expertise.
Yeah.
How well equipped they are to handle all sorts of situations. Staff is the firefighters themselves and their individual strengths and how they work together as a team. And finally, style is all about the leadership approach within the station, how those leaders actually motivate and guide their teams.
And when you connect all those soft elements back to the big picture, you realize that even having the best equipment, the most efficient procedures, none of that matters if you don't have skilled and motivated firefighters, especially if they're not working in a culture of courage and teamwork. The 7S model really makes you consider all aspects, not just those flashy parts.
Yeah, it's about having a solid foundation
Sure.
from top to bottom. Now, the 7S model helps us understand the internal stuff, but let's zoom out and see those external forces that can impact an organization with the PESTLE analysis.
Right. PESTLE looks at those political, economic, sociological, technological, legal, and environmental factors that might be at play. It's like scanning the horizon for potential storms, right? Trying to figure out what challenges or opportunities might be coming your way.
Exactly. Are there new regulations coming? Is the economy taking a hit, which might change consumer spending? Are there any new technologies or maybe changing social trends that could totally disrupt your business model? These are the types of questions the PESTLE analysis helps you ask.
A great example is the recent surge we've seen in electric vehicles. This trend is being driven by a bunch of different PESTLE factors coming together: political support for those green initiatives, economic incentives for both the buyers and the manufacturers, a growing environmental awareness among consumers, and of course those rapid advancements we're seeing in battery and electric motor technology.
So it's not just one thing, it's a bunch of different forces, all coming together to drive change.
And by understanding these factors, the PESTLE analysis helps you anticipate those shifts and adapt your strategy accordingly. It's all about being proactive, not reactive, when it comes to change.
Absolutely. The PESTLE analysis helps you look beyond your immediate surroundings and get a broader perspective on the forces shaping the world.
So we have these two powerful frameworks, one for internal stuff, one for external. But how do they actually work together? How does understanding both the 7S and the PESTLE analysis help someone make better decisions?
Well, think of it this way. The 7S model helps you, you know, get your own house in order, making sure all your internal elements, your strategy, your structure, systems, values, skills, staff, and style, were all aligned and working together well. Then the pestle analysis comes in and helps you understand the bigger environment that you're operating in. So you can identify those opportunities, the threats, even the trends that might impact you, your organization, or your personal goals.
It's like you're building a strong foundation and then making sure you're prepared for whatever weather comes your way.
That's a great analogy, and I think it really resonates with what we're trying to do here at the Beyond Practice podcast. We want to give you the tools and insights you need to navigate, whatever life throws your way, whether it's a big organizational change or a shift in your personal or professional goals.
Absolutely. It's all about taking that holistic view, understanding both what's happening inside and outside, and then using that knowledge to make better decisions and hopefully achieve greater success. These models are so versatile, they can be used in so many different situations and across various industries.
And they're not just for big corporations or complex projects. They can be helpful for anyone facing change, big or small.
And that's what we're all about here at the Beyond Practice podcast, giving you the tools and insights to navigate whatever comes your way.
As you're listening, think about your own situation. What are your 7S's?
And what pestle factors are shaping your landscape?
Once you understand these forces, you can start to use them to your advantage.
Now, before we move on, I want to touch on one more important part of change management, the human element.
Right. We can't forget about the people involved.
Definitely. Change can be, disruptive and unsettling, especially for those directly affected by it. That's why it's crucial to really think about the human impact of any change.
So what does that involve?
It all starts with clear and open communication. People need to understand why the change is happening, how it will affect them, and what their role is in the whole process.
And they need to feel heard and supported throughout the transition. How can leaders ensure their teams feel comfortable raising concerns and asking questions?
Giving opportunities for feedback, addressing concerns directly, and offering training and support can go a long way in reducing resistance and making the transition smoother. It's about bringing people along on the journey, making them feel like they're part of the process and not just, subject to it.
So it's not just about the strategies and the systems, but about connecting with the people who will actually be implementing those changes.
Exactly. The success of any change ultimately depends on the people who are carrying it out. Their buy-in and their willingness to adapt are critical.
Yeah, it's like that saying, people don't resist change, they resist being changed. So how can we make these transitions smoother, more successful for everyone involved?
Well, one key strategy is to involve people right from the start in that change process. Don't just tell them what's going to happen. Give them a chance to actually shape the change.
So it's about empowering them, not just dictating to them.
Exactly. When people feel like they're part of the solution, they're much more likely to embrace the change and contribute positively to the process.
It's about making them feel valued, like their opinions matter.
Transparency is also crucial. Be upfront about those challenges, the reasons behind the change. Share information openly, address concerns directly, and don't try to sugarcoat the difficulties.
Authenticity builds trust.
Absolutely. And trust is the foundation of any successful change.
Another important aspect is to provide the right training and support. This gives people the skills and resources they need to actually adapt to the new ways of working.
It's about setting them up for success. If we're asking people to change how they do things, we need to make sure they have the knowledge and the tools to actually do it effectively.
Exactly. And don't forget to celebrate those successes along the way. Recognizing and rewarding progress, even small wins, can really help maintain momentum and keep everyone motivated.
It's like those milestones on a long journey. They give you a sense of accomplishment and keep you moving forward.
Speaking of journeys, let's shift back to the PESTLE analysis for a moment. We talked about how it helps organizations scan for those storms, those external factors that could impact their operations. But it's not just about identifying threats.
No, it's also about spotting opportunities.
So how can organizations use the PESTLE analysis to find those opportunities and use them to their advantage?
By really analyzing each of those PESTLE factors, political, economic, sociological, technological, legal, and environmental organizations can identify those emerging trends, shifts in consumer behavior, new technologies, and even untapped market possibilities.
It's almost like having a crystal ball, helping you see into the future.
Well, it's not quite a crystal ball, But it can definitely give you a competitive advantage. It lets you anticipate and capitalize on change, which makes it an incredibly valuable tool for anyone who wants to stay ahead of the curve.
Can you give us an example of how an organization might use PESTLE to actually spot an opportunity in the real world?
Okay, let's say you're a company that makes and sells bicycles. By analyzing those environmental factors, you notice this growing concern about climate change and people wanting more sustainable transportation.
I see where you're going with this. Electric bikes.
Exactly. You see this trend and invest in electric bikes. Now you're a leader in sustainable transportation, maybe even tapping into a whole new market.
That's a brilliant example.
Right.
It shows how PESTLE can help you not just adapt to change, but actually drive innovation and create new markets. It's about being proactive and
Yeah.
grabbing those opportunities before the competition does.
And remember, PESTLE isn't a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process of monitoring and adapting to those changes in the environment.
It's like having a radar system that's always scanning for those blips on the horizon, those little signals of change that could be threats or opportunities.
Yeah, it's about being aware and ready to adjust course when you need to. We've talked a lot about organizations, but how can individuals use these frameworks to navigate change in their own lives?
Well, the same principles apply, whether you're switching careers, dealing with a major life event, or just trying to be more effective. Understanding those internal strengths and weaknesses, those 7S's, can help you make better decisions and achieve your goals.
And scanning your own environment for those PESTLE factors can help you anticipate those challenges and grab opportunities that match your aspirations.
For example, if you're thinking about changing careers, you could use PESTLE to look at the job market, identify those industries that are growing, and maybe explore new skills that are in high demand. That way, you can set yourself up for success in a world that's always changing.
It's about understanding the bigger picture and making choices that work for you and match the realities of the world around you.
Change is constant. It's going to happen. How we adapt and evolve determines our success and fulfillment.
Well said. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to touch on one more concept that really blends both frameworks, and that's the idea of stakeholder needs.
That's a great point. We've talked about those internal and external forces, but who are the key players in this landscape? And what are their needs?
Stakeholders can be anyone who is impacted by or has an interest in the organization or individual that's going through the change. This could include employees, customers, suppliers, investors, community members, even family and friends.
So how do the 7S model and the PESTLE analysis help us understand and actually address these stakeholder needs?
Well, the 7S model helps us analyze our internal capabilities and make sure they're aligned with what our stakeholders need. For example, if customer satisfaction is really important, our systems, skills, and even our staff should be set up to deliver great service.
And the PESTLE analysis helps us understand the bigger context that our stakeholders are operating in, like what political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors might be shaping their needs and expectations.
So it's about taking that 360-degree view, looking at both our internal strengths and the external landscape. That way we can make sure we're meeting the needs of everyone who matters.
That's a powerful way to approach change.
Let's take a minute to reflect on some of those key insights we've talked about.
We've gone through two really valuable frameworks that can help you navigate change, whether you're leading a team, running your own business, or just trying to make sense of how the world is changing around you.
And remember, these models aren't just these abstract ideas. They're practical tools you can actually use to analyze what's happening, make better decisions, and ultimately achieve more success.
So let's recap some of the big takeaways, starting with that McKinsey 7S model.
This model really reminds us that organizations are these complex systems where everything is connected.
Yeah, from the strategy and the structure down to the shared values and even the staff. Everything's intertwined. And if you change one thing, it's going to ripple through all those other areas.
Think about it. You're working on a project and you decide to, tweak the timeline. That one small change could impact the resources you need, the tasks each team member has, even the budget. It reminds us that every decision we make has the potential to, create this ripple effect throughout the system.
So it's really important to look at the whole picture when you're making decisions or trying to implement change. Don't get so focused on one little thing that you miss the impact it might have on other areas.
Right. And speaking of the whole picture, we can't forget about those soft elements. The ones that are, well, they're not always so easy to measure, but they're just as important as those hard elements.
I mean, think about it. Even with the best equipment, the most efficient systems, and a fantastic strategy, none of it matters if your team doesn't have the right skills or motivation, or if the whole culture of the organization isn't supporting their work.
Shared values, skills, style, staff, these soft elements are the heart of any organization. They can really make or break your success.
All right, let's shift to the PESTLE analysis, which helps us understand that bigger environment that we're all working in.
By taking a look at all those political, economic, sociological, technological, legal, and environmental factors, we can anticipate those challenges, grab those opportunities as they come up, and ultimately make better decisions, whether we're talking about a big organization or someone just navigating their own career path.
It's like having this radar system that's constantly scanning for anything that could disrupt things or even new opportunities.
It's about being proactive, not reactive. And it's not just about adapting to those external forces, it's about shaping your future.
Exactly. Let's say a company notices that consumers are really starting to care about sustainability. So instead of just reacting to this, they proactively invest in research and development to create new, more eco-friendly options. That way, they position themselves as leaders and even help drive positive change in their industry.
That's a great example of how understanding those external forces can help you do more than just survive change. It can help you thrive in a world that's always evolving.
Absolutely. And, we ended that last segment talking about stakeholders. As you think about your own 7S and those pestle factors that are shaping your world, don't forget about the people who depend on you, who are affected by your decisions, the ones who really have a stake in your success.
Yeah, those employees, customers, suppliers, investors, even family and friends. How can you use these frameworks to better understand their needs and make choices that benefit everyone involved?
I think that's really the heart of leadership, considering the impact of what we do on others, making responsible choices and trying to make a positive difference.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, but I hope this deep dive has given you some new perspectives and some practical tools to tackle change with more confidence and purpose.
Change can be scary, but it's also a huge opportunity for growth and innovation and progress.
So as you move forward, embrace the challenge, stay curious, and never stop learning.
Because in a world that's constantly changing, those who can adapt and are resilient will ultimately thrive.
Keep pushing beyond practice and stay tuned for our next deep dive. We'll be tackling another fascinating topic that'll help you navigate this crazy, complex world we live in.
Until next time.